This isn't just another story. This is your story. Your triumphs, your conquest, your accomplishments, the things you've overcome. These are the things that make you you. But most importantly, these are the stories of what lies ahead. It's time to get re-inspired.
Hey, everybody. Well, welcome back. We're super excited to have you in studio today, the one and only Chandra Martinez. Chandra, how are you today? Good. So excited to be with you. How's your week gone so far?
Pretty good.
Pretty good?
Actually, yeah.
We were just talking kind of off camera. We can't believe it's a Friday or a Monday and trying to figure it out. So life in the fast-paced world of real estate.
It is. And it's the first day of spring, which is very exciting.
Oh, yeah. And we have the weather to back it up instead of snow, which is pretty great.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, again, I appreciate you being here today. One thing I want to ask, and this is kind of a big question. For someone who doesn't know, at like the 25,000 foot view, how would you describe yourself?
Gosh, that's a hard question. I don't know. I think people, when they first meet me, think that I'm very intimidating. I've heard that a lot.
Okay.
But I think actually, if you get to know me, I'm actually hilarious. As you can verify. No. I take my work very seriously, but I don't take myself seriously. And I think I have to warm up to that. And I think I come across intimidating at first to people.
Okay.
But if you get to know me, I'm a giant softie.
Okay. Why do you think that is? Do you think you're so focused on how you can help somebody or trying to figure out the nuts and bolts of a deal or something like that? Or what do you think that is?
I think one, I was born with this RBF that I can't help. And two, I'm passionate about a lot of things. And I don't know. I take my job seriously. Like it's a big deal to be dealing with somebody's biggest transaction of their life. So I do take that very seriously.
I love that. No, I totally get that. I want to go back and let's talk about who you are as a human, right? Because it's so easy to go in and make this a real estate commercial or something like that. So I want people to have the same pleasure I've had of getting to know you as a human, right? So let's start off, where'd you grow up?
I actually grew up in Wyoming. I was born in a very small town called Lander, Wyoming. And then we moved to Laramie and then Cheyenne, which everybody probably knows Cheyenne. It's a little closer to Colorado, but I grew up in Cheyenne and moved here when I was about 20.
Okay. And what was growing up in Wyoming like? Brothers, sisters, family? What'd you guys do?
So my parents were teachers. So in the summertime, we had a lot of free time. We spent most of our days camping and traveling backcountry roads and fishing and doing all of the Wyoming kid things that you would imagine. Yeah. I have a little brother. He's 3 years younger than I am. And he actually lives in Wyoming right now. And yeah, it was a very normal childhood when you grow up in Wyoming, but then you come here and people are like, oh, did you ride horses to school? Did you No, we didn't, but we did do a lot of outdoorsy stuff that I think a lot of people who grow up in the city don't know.
Okay. And then, so that was through high school. You said you were 20 when you moved to Colorado. Tell me about the move to Colorado. What triggered that?
Well, I took a year off from college.
Okay.
And ended up moving down here with a boyfriend.
Okay.
And then I ended up landing an actually really good job that I just couldn't justify going back to college. I was making really good money.
Okay.
I was really young. The company that I worked for had a lot of young adults, and it was just kind of this really fun, inappropriate corporate environment that we could get away with back then.
Yeah.
And I couldn't go back.
What kind of work was it? What were you doing?
It was big data tech sales.
Okay.
It was actually John Ramsey's company.
Oh, wow.
Down on Pearl Street.
Yeah.
He had just sold it. It had all of those things that happened in the 90s to the Ramsey family had just gone down.
Okay.
And he sold his company to Lockheed Martin.
Okay.
And then it eventually got sold to GE, and I was doing software sales. We were a reseller for Sun Microsystems at the time.
Okay, yeah.
And I stayed there actually for almost 20 years through many transitions and acquisitions, and I stayed there quite a long time.
Okay. And that was in a different area, but also with
it was in Boulder.
On
Pearl Street.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so you landed that when you were 20, 21?
Mm-hmm. I started as a temp and got hired on. And yeah, it was, like I said, the money was really good.
Yeah.
It was just a really fun environment. And this will date me, but it was long hours because we didn't even have, like, if you got a purchase order, you had to print it out and take a courier over to Sun Microsystems. It wasn't anything electronic. So
Yeah.
for a big data company and you're still doing things very old school, that tells you how old I am.
Waiting for the fax to come
Yeah,
in and
yeah,
stuff
we
like
had
that.
to fax
Well, that
a
was a
courier.
huge boom in the world.
Mhm.
You know, that point in time was almost like a second or third industrial revolution with,
It was.
you know, the internet and all the stuff that's going on. So that's incredible. You had like a ground level view of that. What were there any lessons that you learned on that first experience?
I think learning how to deal with stress was a big one.
Okay.
Working hard and seeing that come to fruition was also a big
Okay.
one. And I think that comes a lot also from how I was raised. But I think that it was just one of those things where you went in, got the job done. Sometimes we were there until 2 a.m. if we were on deadlines and stuff because you had to physically be there. So
Right.
I think that instilled a lot of good habits
Yeah.
in working and being in control of my schedule and just being focused on things.
Okay. What was going on in your personal life at that point in time? I know you're a mom and stuff like that. Were you a mom? How
I am
did
a
you
mom
manage-
now, but no, I
Okay.
wasn't. When I started, I was just like I said, I just dropped out of college. I was
Okay.
very young. We would spend a lot of time down on Pearl Street
Yeah.
and enjoying our time as young people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know where the Oz Architecture building on Pearl Street was? Right by John's restaurant.
Okay. Yeah.
My office used to be in that building.
Nice.
So Pearl Street has
Yeah.
many magic memories of that point in time. Going back to college, what were you studying in college?
I was actually a biology major and a
Okay.
Spanish.
Okay. And what was the dream at that time when you first went to college?
I mean, in a perfect world, I would have loved to be a marine biologist, but growing
Okay.
up in Wyoming, that probably wasn't the most feasible
Yeah.
idea. Something in wildlife management, something outdoorsy. I don't really know where I was going with it, but I took
Okay.
a lot of biology classes. It was just something I was really passionate about.
Okay.
I did take a lot of like wildlife, like park rangery stuff. I
Yeah.
think maybe that's where I would have been headed had I stayed on that path.
Okay. Interesting. Do you miss any of that stuff, or have you found a way to incorporate your love of the outdoors and animals and stuff like that into what you're doing now or
Yeah,
day-to-day life?
absolutely. Definitely not in real estate, but I do, my family loves to go camping and still a lot of time outdoors. And that's just kind of my happy places on top of a mountain in the middle of nowhere.
I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. So, what were some of maybe some of the struggles we talked about? Lessons learned and everything. Can you think of anything that was just a really big struggle for you that you had to process or work through or grow through? Really?
Sure. I mean, when I was probably about 30. I had a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and
Okay.
2 days after my second daughter was born, my mom died. I think that was really, really hard on me. I was just coming into my own as
Yeah.
an adult and a mom and a human,
Yeah.
figuring out who I was, and then she passed. So that was pretty tough.
What was it? Sudden? If
It
I'm
was
not
sudden,
mistaken?
yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. I had talked to her the day before. The next morning, my dad came home from work and found her. So
My kid.
that was tough to get through.
Yeah.
It still is, but yeah, her and I were becoming very close. And like I said, I was coming into my own as a mom, and now I don't have her to guide me through those things. So
Right.
I'm now a grandma of my own, which
Okay.
is the best blessing ever. And I just realized what she missed out on, and it's sad.
Yeah. Do you feel like some of the lessons maybe you learned from your mom you've carried through? So in a sense, do you feel like she's with you?
Absolutely. She's always with me. And I have so many stories where my daughters used to see her when they were little also. So she's always definitely with us.
That's
I
amazing.
can smell her sometimes, which is weird. So
Okay.
she's with us in spirit, literally in spirit sometimes. But for sure, she taught me a lot of things about being hardworking
Yeah.
and kind. Yeah, she was awesome.
She sounds like an amazing woman.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, how'd you move forward from that? I mean, that's, sometimes you don't have a choice, right? But how'd you do it? Because here you are today.
You just do. I think as a mom, you learn those things where you've just got to get through the day. You've just got to go forward. So
Yeah. And then how much longer after that were you still in the big data game?
So I stayed in that business. I was actually doing real estate in that business for a couple of years overlapping.
Okay.
So I stayed in big data for 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah. I overlapped for a couple of years, and my ultimate goal was when I am making as much money in real estate as I am in this cushy work from home, stable job with benefits,
Yeah.
I've got to make a decision. And I always knew real estate was my passion and my end game,
Okay.
but I was overlapping for a couple of years.
Wow.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know how I did it now looking back at the hours, but
Right.
yeah.
So let's talk about how did real estate find you? You said you know it was your passion. When did you figure that out? When did that click for you?
So when I was in my mid-ish 20s, I actually went to real estate school.
Okay.
I knew that I eventually wanted something different. I didn't want to be in the corporate world all of my life. I knew that. But again, it was stable. The pay was good. Benefits were huge. So I went to real estate school and I thought that I was going to quit my corporate job.
Okay.
I ended up having my first child and realized that maybe that was a little scary. There weren't guaranteed benefits. There were certain perks, right, that you have in a corporate environment that you don't have in real estate. So I put it on hold for a little bit. And then it's just always been in the back of my brain, like, someday I want to do this. And I just decided, like, I've got to get this done or I'm never going to do it,
So what was the point or the situation that gave you the confidence to make that big move?
So I think, so I had gone through my mom dying. I'd gone through an awful divorce. And then I met my current husband.
Okay.
And we had a child together. And I think it was just that extra support of like, you can do anything. And having him back me up and knowing that there was a stable second option as a partner,
Right.
that I could take this risk and still be okay. I think that was like my final push.
Okay.
And so actually Carter, he's 10 now. When he was born, I was like, you know what? I'm home for 3 months. I'm going to get this done. I'm giving myself a timeline. I'm going to get back through school. I'm going to commit to this. We're going to get this done. So while I was on maternity leave, I started school again and just did it.
Did it.
I gave myself 3 months to get through school, passed my test, got it done. Yeah.
Okay. So what did that first year of you being all in on real estate look like for you? How did that go?
Well, don't tell my corporate job. I would literally leave. I was on salary, right? So I would literally leave for like 3-hour lunch breaks and go do showings.
Okay.
I was juggling both things and making both things work. My first year in real estate, though, I think I did $3 million as a part-time agent. And so I was like, oh, I can do.
Okay.
This is not only really fun, but it's really fulfilling. And I just loved it so much. And I was like, okay, I can do this.
All right. Well, I'd love that you brought up the word fulfilling.
Mhm.
What fulfills you with real estate? Tell me about, like, because you can tell you're passionate about it, right? Where's that passion come from?
I think knowing that you're helping somebody deal with some of the hardest times of their life, like real estate is, the transaction itself can be tricky, right? But there's also so many other things coupled with why they're doing a transaction. There's a divorce, there's a baby, there's a job, there's so many other things coupled with it. And knowing that you're helping guide and support them through that, and then seeing their smiles at the closing table or their tears or whatever that is. And it's not always happy. Sometimes people don't want to move, but knowing that you help them through some of those most overwhelming days of their life, and they're like, oh my God, thank you so much. That's it.
Okay.
That's all there is. Yeah.
Okay. So it's not just a transaction. It's the whole person, the whole situation, the whole family, and the element of service, it sounds like.
It's not just a transaction. It is a transaction.
Yeah.
I think for them, it sometimes feels like a transaction, but no, you're helping them through the biggest days of their life, the biggest month of their life, however long that takes.
Yeah, right? Oh, it's incredible. I love your view of it all. So your first year, you were kind of doing the part team. What did the first year look like when you were all in, as you were just doing real estate? How did that go for you?
Trying to think it wasn't easy. I mean, I'll tell you that. It was a big transition, but I did go all in. I committed full time. And I think that's where I set up habits for my day-to-day that we talk about a lot on some of our accountability calls. And just knowing that I committed to that, I think that commitment happened very early on of like, if you're going to be all in, you better be all in. So I think I committed to that really hard and I just went for it.
Just went for it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's amazing. Were there any, the first couple of years, was there any mistake or stumble that taught you a big lesson when you were getting up and running and becoming who you are now?
I think there's still lessons that I'm learning every day. I think one of those is boundary setting.
Okay.
I wish I would have learned that lesson a lot earlier.
All right.
I'm getting better at it now, but
Okay.
boundary setting and hard lines of
Go deeper on the boundary set
Yeah,
for me.
I
I want
mean,
to understand what you're
this
talking
is a
about.
really, really easy job to get really in the weeds in, right? Like you could be answering the phone 24 hours a day if you wanted to. Like some of our clients work nights, some of, like there's so many things. So I think setting those boundaries with my time and my priorities and knowing that at the end of the day, we're not saving lives. I mean, and my family needs to come first. So putting the phone down while I'm at dinner, those kinds of things where it's like, we're at a family dinner, you don't need to be answering your phone. It can wait half an hour,
Yeah.
I think learning those earlier on would have saved me some emotional stress a little bit. Like I said, I'm getting better at it, but I always want to be there for everybody.
Sure.
It includes my family too. So
have you started through that kind of evolution of discovering what those boundaries need to be? Have you started helping your clients understand what those are, so everybody's kind of playing with the same rules on the same field and stuff like that?
Absolutely. And I very early on, I stressed to them that if I am available, I will answer your call. If I am not, I will call you back as soon as I am available. I typically don't answer after 8:30 unless there's a transaction going on or a contract going on or a negotiation, something that I should be available to. But I do set those boundaries with them and say I'm available until 8:30 at night, every night. And if for some reason you can't get a hold of me, I will call you back.
Okay. And have people been receptive to that?
That's the
As soon as you
language.
kind of figure out, where you're like, wait, I'm allowed to have dinner too.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that you're scared of is like, I want to be available to them. I don't want them to think I'm ignoring them, but they're totally understanding. It's me.
Cool. Well, and I think just thinking through that without emotion, if you're taking that time for yourself and your family, when you are showing up for them, you're showing up for them at a much higher level. Like you're all in, right?
All in.
Instead of, being stretched too thin or stressed out or visually emotional. And so I
All
think
in.
that's a really good lesson that people should, I hope, hear. What do you think separates the agents that go all in and make it happen like you did versus the ones that kind of fade out? Do you think it's confidence? Do you think it's habits? What do you think some of that is?
I think it's perception that this job is easier than it is. I think agents that fizzle out don't realize that you actually have to put the work in. If you're going to be committed to the job and you love the job, that's amazing. But you have to understand that it's not easy. You see so many things on TV and social media and all of the highlight reels of how great this is. But you don't realize, going in, you might not eat for 6 months. You might struggle. 9 years in, and I'm like, I had a closing in 3 months sometimes, and it's like, it's harder than it looks and it's harder than people make it look. So I think if you're going to commit to it, you need to understand the good, the bad, and the ugly of it.
Yeah. So what do you think it really takes to make it that people don't want to say or people maybe don't even want to hear?
I think being ready financially to know that it's a very expensive hobby to have. I always tell my new agents that like you need to be prepared financially to commit to it, but also you need to, like I said early on, create good habits.
Yeah.
Be very consistent with them. Yeah. And be ready to do that.
Because you've built something far beyond a hobby, so to speak, right? But no, you absolutely a big business with people that you mentor and coach and guide and work with, and so you're very impressive. What do you believe about success that some people get wrong? And I think we maybe alluded to it a little bit with, the TV shows and everybody's got their head shot up on everything. The highlight reel, I think, is a great way to put it.
Yeah, I think, success is your own definition of what it is, like what makes you happy? What does it mean to you to feel like you succeeded? That's different for everybody. And I think supporting that for every agent too, because not every agent has to do $20 million a year to be successful in their business. And I think having that perception, but also supporting those agents that are successful because they've done two deals a year, or because, I think you have to create your business for what it means for you and what you need out of it.
Yeah.
And I think there are agents that can consider themselves successful with 2 deals a year versus 50. And
Yeah.
so I think that's very different for everybody.
Well, it sounds like it's coming from the point of view of somebody who's running and leading a team and coaching people, because it sounds like you need to know your people and figure out what success is for them and then help them pursue that.
Yeah. And I think that's what's different about our team too, is we don't have a production requirement. We sit down with each agent and say, what does success look for you this year? Let's make those goals and let's help you get to those individually. And I think that does set us apart a little bit, because we aren't requiring our agents to do, a certain threshold to be able to be a part of us.
Do you find the passion you have for your clients that you're serving is similar to the passion you have when you're helping agents grow and helping their business evolve and stuff like that? Is it similar? Is it a lot different? Or
no, I think it's that same rewarding feeling, like, oh my gosh, I just helped you win. That's amazing, you know? And I want everybody to win. There's room in this business for everybody to win.
Yep.
And I think that's also a perception that a lot of agents don't have.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. You've brought up habits quite a few times, which alludes to discipline and stuff. What are some of the daily habits that you've created that have made the biggest impact in your life?
The hugest one that I've learned and really try to stick to hard is the time blocking. If I sit down and say, okay, I'm going to make calls from 9 to 11, that is what I need to be doing from 9 to 11. I can't sway from that, or I get super distracted. I'm a very shiny ball over there kind of girl. Yeah. And if I'm not committing to that very focused blocking of time, I get completely I procrastinate everything. I'm really bad at it. So my bad habits I'm aware of just as well as my good habits, and I have to use those good habits to overcome that.
What are are there any tricks or tools or anything that you use so when it's 9 o'clock, you are in the chair, phone's ready?
Yeah.
How do you prep for that?
Everything is in my Google Calendar on my phone.
Okay.
If it does not pop up in my calendar, it does not happen. My kids know that. My husband knows that. If it is in my calendar, it is what is happening at that time, at that place.
Okay.
I put all of my personal stuff in my calendar. I put all of my work stuff in my calendar.
Yeah.
And that is my priority at that time. So I will put in my calendar, you are calling from 9 to 11 today. That's it. It pops up in my calendar. And then I also I'm very old school about things. I still use spreadsheets and notes. There's sticky notes all over my office. I have a daily planner that it's a very simple one where it's like, what are your top priorities for the day? What are you grateful for today? And how much water have you drank today? Okay. And I'm very dedicated to filling that out every morning of like what I need to do. What are my priorities? And what am I grateful for every morning? I do a mindful morning to get my day started off in the right mindset.
Do you ever revisit that at the end of the day to kind of reflect and say, hey, I got 2 of the 3 big things done, or this amazing thing happened, or this thing that stunk happened, and here's how I handled it? Do you reflect on?
I absolutely do. If I get something done, I get to check it off on my list,
okay,
which makes me feel accomplished.
It's
tangible. And then absolutely the grateful thing, I do that every morning. I write 3 things that I'm grateful for.
Okay.
That's important to me.
Yeah. So let's talk about gratitude for a hot sec. What does that do for your frame of mind? If you don't want to get out of bed, but you drag yourself out of bed, and then you sit there in this moment of gratitude, what does that do for you or the rest of your day?
That just sets the tone for the whole day. I mean, if you wake up and you're like, I have to go show these 4 houses today. No, I got to go up. I got up today, first of all. That's huge.
Yeah.
At 47 years old, my knees don't always agree with me either. So I got up, I had my coffee, and now I get to go show 4 houses today to this beautiful family who is looking for, this. And I think there's one of them in there that's theirs,
Okay.
It's all about your mindset.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. How do you think you've changed or evolved as a person from day one of being in real estate to where you are now and what you've built?
aside from all these gray hairs, I think, again, I think having a lot more gratitude and just being thankful for the opportunities that have been given to me.
Yeah.
I think a lot of just normal maturity things happen. You
Yeah.
know, this business is, again, not easy. It's stressful. But knowing what you are grateful for and being thankful for all the opportunity, I think, is where you have to stay.
And I love what you said. It's kind of the difference between have to and get to.
Absolutely.
And it's probably just a couple degree shift in how we choose to look at things. Right?
It's one word of the difference every single morning.
Yeah.
It changes your whole day.
Wow. One word difference.
I have to or I get to. It changes your entire day.
I love that. That's pretty powerful. You've mentioned it can be a stressful business. It can be a busy business. What do you do when you hit that mental wall or that emotional wall where you're depleted? How do you recharge yourself up so you can get out of bed the next morning, make sure you're using the right words, practicing gratitude, and get out there and help people?
Well, one of my tricks, I feel like I owe everybody 100% of myself, and that can be super draining, right?
Yeah.
It's not just my clients, but it's also my family. When I get home at night, I owe them everything that I have because they're my family and they deserve just as much as me as my clients do. So there are times where I will sit in the driveway for 15, 20 minutes before I even go in the house and just let the day go. If I had a really, really shitty day, I'll sit in the driveway for a few minutes. I'll watch a couple reels. I'll get back in the right mindset of like, okay, I'm going to go in the house and give my family the best version of myself that I have. So I think being able to decompress a little bit and shut down and let some of the day go, and then you get to bring back in the better parts of yourself is huge. I also I try to commit. Sometimes my schedule is a little tricky to either yoga or walking for 45 minutes outside every day. I need sunshine and air and just to be able to shut down. So I'll plug in my podcast, go walk for 45 minutes. Sometimes I'll come home. I'll be like, I had a really bad day. I'm going to go walk before I talk to you, to my husband.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I clear my head, and I come back fresh.
That's amazing. And I don't know if you've recognized this, but it almost sounds like you have a superpower of self-awareness that helps guide you to be so mindful and intentional with your time with the people you love, family, and the people that you love to serve, your clients and stuff like that. So that's commendable. That's wise.
I didn't realize it was self-awareness, but yeah, I guess, you just have to give the best version of yourself to everybody.
Yeah.
Including yourself.
Right. That's huge. I want to switch up a little bit. Why Keller Williams?
Oh man. So when I first started as an independent agent, I was with a different brokerage.
Okay.
It was a very bougie brokerage. It looks amazing out there in the world.
Yeah.
But I wasn't getting any support. There was nothing.
Okay.
There's no training. I kind of came in as a solo agent, and it was like sink or swim, figure it out, which credit to it because I did a lot of sinking in my first couple of years, and I think I'm a way better agent because of it, because I learned a lot of things the hard way, right?
Yeah.
But then you come over here and you have this insane support system. I can call you if I need anything. I can call Grace. I can call Leslie. I can call so many people if I feel like there's even a moment of hesitation or struggle, and I know that somebody's going to be there to help me or find me an answer or just be able to get me through a hard day, even if I needed to, The training here is amazing. And then just the networking opportunity has been huge. I have people that find me online just because I'm a Keller Williams agent. I've gotten several referrals just from that fact alone, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible. What role do you think the environment here, specifically at Keller Williams Preferred Realty, has played in growth or growing members of your team, anything like that?
Again, the support. If there's an agent at the office that somebody thinks is a good fit, they'll be like, oh my God, you need to go talk to Chandra, and we'll sit down and have a conversation. Just the fact that I'm a consideration, or even somebody's, like, my name is on somebody's brain over here is amazing. Yeah.
And I think this business can be extremely lonely. right?
Very lonely.
And the highs are high, but the lows are super low, and it's easy for things to get dark or scary. And so one of the things I've seen is there's just this environment of people constantly wanting to lift each other up and have the best for them, and in the front of mind, I'm just humbled to get to work in a place like this. Also, with your affiliation with Keller Williams, you're also one of our agent leaders on the Associate Leadership Council.
Yes.
What does that mean to you?
It means that I get to be a good example to other agents. Coming from a leadership role anyways within my team, I feel like it's really important to lead by example. And it's something that my name is just a little more out there where I can be viewed as a leader and people know that they can come to me and ask me questions or guidance. That's really important to me.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're helping? I mean, we talked about your clients, we talked about the family. Now you're helping this larger community of agents through your example, through the things that you bring to the table by being on the ALC class ideas. We've talked about some jiu-jitsu stuff and some other things like that to bring in so agents can be safe and have their situational awareness on alert at all times, and a whole bunch of other things. Do you take that responsibility? What does that responsibility mean to you? I know that was a muddled question. So
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
I think being a leader in any industry comes with a certain level of responsibility for sure.
Okay.
And again, I think, going back to the lead by example, if you're going to be a leader, you better be doing it right too. You can't just point the finger and say, you do this.
Yes.
You need to be able to do it too. So I think that's huge.
What is that old saying? Do as I say, not as I do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah. That I don't see that coming out. What would you say makes this place different than maybe some other brokerages, other places people would choose to work?
The support system.
Yeah.
The interaction that is happening, especially recently at the office, there's just so much going on all the time. You can really be involved with our community, with other agents, with being a leader. There's a lot of opportunity to be just a more involved agent. And you go back to talking about how being in real estate can be very lonely. I learned that. That's another thing I learned as a solo agent. There's not loneliness here if you seek it out. There's always opportunity to have support here.
I love hearing that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. So if you were to look back where you're at right now in your career, if you were to look back and talk to an agent that maybe they were doing 2 or 3 deals a year and they wanted more, somebody was stuck between 5 and 10 deals and wanted more, what would you straight up tell them? Look, here's what you need to do.
Set good habits.
Okay.
Build something that's consistent. In real estate, you don't always see instant gratification on what you're working so hard for.
Yeah.
And sometimes you work so hard and still don't get paid, right?
Right,
It's hard. But building something consistent, I say, figure something out. If you're going to do mailers, do them for 6 months. Do it for 6 months. You need to give that time to build and grow and get your name out there. I'd also say join a team. Doesn't have to be my team, but the guidance, the mentorship, the camaraderie there, the family there is really important. And if you're building brand new and you don't know what you're supposed to be doing all day, just sitting there twiddling your thumbs isn't the answer. So you need somebody like, okay, this is what you should try next if this isn't working, or this is what you should be doing today. And I think as a new agent, you don't get a lot of that. You just kind of
thrown into the mix.
You're thrown in and you just kind of figure it out as you go. But having that guidance, I think, is huge. So I do think joining a team, I wish I would have. I think I'd be 4 years farther along in my career had I done that,
Okay. My next question was, what's one thing you wish you would have done sooner? And that would have been
Absolutely. I wish I would have joined a team. Just for the guidance, just for the, again, what am I supposed to be doing all day? What do I wake up and do? How do I handle this? Those kinds of things, you just don't know what you're doing.
And I think it's interesting sometimes too, is how do we connect the purpose we're trying to have in our lives or in our career to the motivation to do the activities? You know what I mean? And I think through a lot of the gratitude you're practicing and having the clarity and the discipline with your schedule, I mean, your time dictates what your priorities are, right? It's the one commodity we don't have anything extra on. If you were to look back at Chandra on day one of real estate, what would you say to her?
You can do this.
You can do this. Okay. When did you know that you can really do this?
When it came to fruition that I could quit my other job.
Okay.
And it was like, here it is, you know, like
Yeah.
this is what I've been working for. Here's that threshold of these $2 amounts. Financially, I can do this.
Yeah. What kind of life are you ultimately trying to build through this business that you've created?
It's dumb because you have to sit down and do like your little mantra for the year or whatever, but it's so cheesy. But I always say, I just want to build a life that I don't need a vacation from.
I love that.
I want to be able to spend time with my family, and I want to do whatever I want, you know, like it doesn't have to be, I need this lavish vacation every year, but if I wanted one, why not?
Yeah. Freedom to do what you want with who you want, when you want.
Yeah.
That's freedom.
Isn't that everybody's?
Yeah, right. No, it really is. Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. So we're going to end things with a couple rapid fire questions. You ready?
These words?
No, these ones,
Okay.
these are the real rapid fire ones. Coffee or energy drink?
Coffee.
Okay. How much coffee you drink a day?
A lot.
A lot.
Always. Again, because I think you're finding that I'm a little bit of a creature of habit sometimes.
That's good.
2 cups of coffee in the morning. That's the first thing. My husband's very kind and he makes me coffee and I have it when I wake up. He usually brings it to me, but I have at least 2 cups of coffee. If I'm on the road all day, sometimes that's all I have. is
Yeah,
coffee.
I hear you. I do the same thing. On your first commission that you ever earned, what did you do with the money?
I actually don't remember.
Okay.
I know the address. Actually don't remember.
Don't remember. Okay. That's all right. I've heard everything from went out to dinner, paid bills. I haven't heard anything lavish like I went and bought that car or the boat or anything like that. So
No, I had a toddler. I wasn't doing anything lavish, but I don't.
okay. What is your one non-negotiable daily habit?
Again, setting my calendar for the day, setting my intentions and blocking my schedule.
All right, that miracle morning. I love that. What's your favorite way to decompress?
I very much enjoy a nice glass of red wine.
Okay.
Yoga is huge.
Okay.
Just finding that like little hour to myself where I can shut everything down.
Okay. And then if you had one word that defined your business, what would that word be?
Focused.
Focused. I love that. Right on. Well, I cannot thank you enough for your time today. Really appreciate getting to visit with you and everything. Folks, thanks for joining us. We can't wait to see you for the next episode. And thanks again, Chandra. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye for now.